The King and Queen of the Ring tournaments continue to roll on as Monday Night Raw came to us last night from Turin, Italy at the Enalpi, I think I said that right, maybe not, arena. And it was a Raw that saw really not a ton of progress otherwise. It was an underwhelming acknowledgement ceremony. Yes, the advancements of the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments, that does have a prize at the end of it, which I'm very glad they changed a couple of years ago under Triple H's his guise, that the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments are no longer just performative, that there's actually an end goal. There is something of a tangible reward for the winners, and it's a title shot for the men and the woman who wins said tournament. So I'm glad they changed that. We got some progression last night. We got to hear from Obafemi last night. How does he respond to getting his ass kicked? Well, I'll get to that. Suffice it to say, anybody who thought this wasn't going 3 matches, you are sadly mistaken. This is going to go 3. It could end at the, the Night of Champions or Clash of Champions event in Saudi Arabia, or Saturday night's main event in Madison Square Garden, or it could be SummerSlam. I hope it's not Obafemi at SummerSlam. I don't think they can string it out another 2 months. I think they need to strike while it's hot. And those of you that believe or did believe or had a hint of Obafemi's career being over, you guys, there is going to be another match. The way they set it up and talked about it last night, Oba said they're 1-1. That is a surefire way to know that they're going to go 3 matches. And more than likely, overwhelmingly, it looks like Obafemi could come out on top in that match. Now, if he doesn't, that'll be an interesting day at the office, because it'll enrage those that believe Obafemi was destroyed by this loss to Brock Lesnar at the Clash in Italy event. But it would also tell you kind of where they feel Obafemi is at the moment. If he loses to Brock Lesnar in the 3rd match, whenever that is, that would be a bit of a statement by WWE. Not that it would, I think, really overall hurt Obafemi's career, but in the short term, it could define him down a bit to a place that I don't think fans want him to be. All suffice to say, I don't think that's going to happen. Spoiler alert. Obafemi's going to win that 3rd match whenever or however that happens, and bank on it. So we'll talk about that with Obafemi and his comments about Brock Lesnar. But let's open up with what the show started with, and that was Reigns and the Usos coming to the ring. The fans chanting OTC, and the crowd was really behind Roman Reigns here. Reigns said there's no day like Acknowledgement Day. And Jay questioned whether Fatu was I mean, I'm not really sure there. But Jay said it was Fatu's first day on the job, and he was already late. Fatu made his entrance, and Reigns told Fatu not to drag it out. And he said, you know what time it is? Jay said Fatu was moving too slowly, and Fatu stood in front of Reigns. He said he knew the consequences of their match. He spoke of losing in front of the world, including his children. He spoke of his children seeing him take a loss and be a man of his word. Last night, I lost to my tribal chief, but I didn't lose to your punk ass, Jay. So some tension still. Not that I really care, nor does anyone care about any kind of remix or rejiggering or reassembling of any kind of bloodline story whatsoever. There is no interest at all, but seems like they're teasing it here again, along with Solo at Clash in Italy. No one cares. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Fatu said he would keep it 100. I didn't say it properly, I guess, in his version of English. Keep it 100. I can't say it that badly. I can't speak his warped version of English, I guess, but he's going to keep it 100. And he dropped to one knee, and he said, I acknowledge you. And Reigns grabbed his hand, pulled him to his feet, and Reigns said, you don't understand this now, Jacob, but I love you. And Jimmy delivered the ones lines, and Reigns and the Usos put up their fingers, and that was it. Nothing of interest really happened other than Jacob keeping his word. And if you're trying to build him as a babyface or back to a babyface where he was, this is not a bad place to do it. Now, I say not a bad place to do it in the respect that you're keeping Fatu as a man of his word, right? That's an admirable trait for a quote unquote good guy to have. In the morals that we have in the Western world, keeping your word is an admirable trait. So it, even in a loss, shows he can take a loss and keep his word. That's important if you're trying to rebuild him. At the same time, it puts him back in the same position he was as he was with Solo. He's just a handyman now, serving someone else. This time, instead of Solo, it's Roman. So Jacob just got kind of put back where he was. He has come full circle, except his master is no longer Solo, it's Roman. If you are concerned about Jacob Fatu being world champion, don't be. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. It'll happen, but I don't think it'll even be this year. Nor should it be. The guy's not ready. The support's not quite there. He will be, and he'll be a major player at the top of the card for a while, but it's not going to happen, I think, in the near future, and we've been told that by the story I think we're seeing now. So, the fact that we are now running this bloodline back, and there's a new name for Romans, I forget. People are coming up with stuff. But the overall message here is that WWE seems to be running it back again with the bloodline. Running it back with Solo showing up at Clash in Italy. That was really disheartening. We're seeing Roman now kind of reform a new bloodline, but keeping a lot of the same old faces with the Usos, now adding Jacob Fatu officially. I think we're a Sami Zayn short, right? But I don't think WWE feels that this is an old story, or at least they think they can put a new spin on a very old, outdated, beyond used, expired story. You cannot create any interest in this beyond very surface level, mild interaction from the fans. I don't think anyone's going to accept this. We've seen it all. We've done it all. There's no more bloodline story to be told. Nothing outside of repeating what you've already done, or now coming full circle with Roman reforming this bloodline. Yes, the addition of Jacob. That's not enough of a new wrinkle to make this even remotely interesting. Not that Roman Reigns isn't a big star, not that the Usos are one of the best, if not the best tag team to ever exist. You can make that argument. But there's nothing they can do, I don't think, with the current faces to make any kind of bloodline interaction or backstabbing or reuniting of anybody in the bloodline, outside of maybe bringing The Rock back, to make this mildly interesting. Somebody please explain a story in which Tala Tonga, Tongaloa, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Roman, and the Usos, in any combination that you can take out of those men. Tell me a story with those, just those men, that would make it remotely interesting. One that you haven't already maybe thought to yourself, yeah, I've kind of seen that. I cannot think of one. It wouldn't be the worst thing that WWE's ever done. If they want to run it back, they know it's a safe, although I wouldn't even call it a safe story anymore. It's not safe to run back the same story they've been telling for 4.5 years. That's not safe. That's lazy. It's also telling me you're out of ideas or out of opponents, or both, for Roman Reigns. It's just not a good look. It feels stale. I understand it's Roman. I know he's the world champion. He had one of the best matches I've ever seen at WrestleMania. Many people believe that as well. And I'm piggybacking on it, but it's true. That doesn't mean you get to just run it back with the bloodline and think we're going to be suddenly all interested in it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys feel differently out there. Let me know. mailbag@wwepodcast.com. We'll read your emails on Friday. I don't feel that way. Despite the fact that you have a lot of good wrestlers in the ring here, decent star power, there's not really anything you can do. Again, you want to bring The Rock back and talk about the Samoan family and dynasty and all that. I guess bringing a star like The Rock back would be something that I guess would spark a little more interest than your average run back of a story. But even then, I don't know what his role would be. And you never know how long he'd be around to complete a story. He's all about starting them and then just ghosting. He's the equivalent of going on a dating app, talking to a girl or a guy for a week or two, and then they just ghost and they disappear. Like, that is what The Rock is doing to us, or has done to us in real time over the last couple of years. He ghosts us, and then he'll tell us, I'm never ever going away. And then he goes away. He's back for good, and then he leaves. Yeah, that's The Rock. But that's how I feel about this. Okay. We have then Cole announced that Saturday's AAA show featuring El Grande, the original El Grande Americano, versus El Grande Americano in a mask versus mask match would be replayed on Netflix after Raw. And I would argue that that is a very good move. That match, and I've only seen highlights, I will take time to actually watch it. From what I understand, is one of the best matches of the year, if not several years, in what was done with Chad Gable and Ludwig Kaiser, mask versus mask. From what I understand, it was incredible. I've seen a few highlights of it. I can't come to a full conclusion, but I have no reason to believe that this is not one of the greatest matches we've seen in a while. Not of all time. I'm not going to go wild, but it's getting critical acclaim, I should say. If it's being replayed on Netflix, they know they've got something here. Now, I want to read something too, because while I'm on it, this is about Nick Khan. And trust me, this will all tie in. Okay, this did not happen on Raw, but since it's related, this was just put out by Wrestle Purists on X, among other places. Nick Khan says WWE will never respond to social media criticism of the product. Recalls a meeting with Shawn Michaels last year about the accelerating of the next generation of talent. Quote from Nick Khan: "We will never respond to social media criticism. If ratings are down, if revenue's down, if relevancy's down, it's up to us. A year ago, we got together, Triple H, Chris Legentil, myself, a guy named Shawn Michaels, who runs our development system, Hall of Fame wrestler, and we said, hey, look, we have John Cena on his retirement tour. Rock came back, and now he's going to be filming Jumanji. CM Punk's 46 years old. We got a number of men who are 40 years and older, and they're performing at a high level. We have to accelerate the next generation of talent. So who or what do we need to accelerate it?" And this is the final piece here, and then I'll respond. Shawn Michaels said, "We need to take them on the road so they can get a crowd response from a live crowd. That's the part of what makes wrestling unique. If you're getting cheered, great. If you're getting booed, great. If there's no response, terrible. So you need to have that live crowd to figure that out." So we made that investment in that. Oh my God. Now, I've read over this quote a couple of times. And if this is true, and I have no reason to believe this is bullshit. If this is true, Nick Khan is one of the most hilariously egregious and infuriatingly egregious wrestling promoters of all time. And I know that's an outdated term to use. They're not wrestling promoters. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. You can rephrase or soften the language or sanitize the language or HR it all you want, like calling dying passing away. Right? All these euphemisms for things that we like to soften the language of to pretend it's not the same thing. It is. Like saying suicide is unalive. I know a lot of people do that online, so it doesn't trigger warnings on social media. I get it. But you get my point. That's not just, again, that is not what Nick Khan is, and he may be one of the worst wrestling promoters of all time. He is a wrestling promoter. I don't care if he thinks he's not. He is. He just is definitionally. He can call himself an entertainment industry promoter, whatever, or just an he's running an entertainment corporation. I don't care. Use whatever words you want. You're doing the same thing as a wrestling promoter. So whatever makes you sleep at night, Nick. Now, beyond all of that, the worst thing I've ever seen in this quote is the phrase, a guy named Shawn Michaels. I don't think he was trying to be funny. I genuinely think that he didn't know who Shawn Michaels was prior to meeting him. He probably never even heard the name Shawn Michaels. And again, I don't think he's trying to be funny of some guy named Shawn Michaels read it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he was trying to be humorous or cute. This is Nick Khan being serious, as if we don't know Shawn Michaels. If that's true, he is egregiously incompetent to be a pro wrestling promoter. Now, also, we'll never respond to social media. Well, yes, you do. Well, what do you mean you do? Of course you did. How did Cody Rhodes get put back into the WrestleMania 40 main event? You think it was done because social media wasn't around? No. Right? We changed the main event, or I didn't, but others, many other of the people in the wrestling community, fandom, decided to band together and say, hey, no, we don't want this. We don't want Rock Roman. We want Cody to finish his story. And they willed Cody back into the main event. So I don't want to hear you don't respond. Sure you do. Of course you do, you morons. You would be really, I think, doing a disservice to your organization if you actually didn't pay attention to social media. Any organization that has a social media presence is paying attention to social media. It is how you take the temperature of where your organization is at. Now, you need to know there's ups and downs and things come and go and people's attention spans don't last long and you just got to, ride the wave and stick out the valley. I get that. People are very fickle, easily triggered. I get that. But it still can be a good baseline to see where your fan base, your customer base is at. So I don't want to hear that you don't respond. Yes, you do. Now, you may not respond directly, like TKO isn't putting out X posts saying, due to the recent fan backlash, we have decided to put, Michael Cole in charge of creative, as a head of creative, right? No, they don't respond directly by saying, they're never going to respond directly by saying that, but their actions respond to the criticism or to the praise of the company or of the fans. So yes, you do. You fucking moron. Nick Khan, now again, a guy that's much richer, much more successful in terms of how we define success. If you want to define it by how much money you make, sure. Yeah, he's more successful than most men on the planet. But when it comes to understanding what pro wrestling is or having any kind of respect for it or its history and its lineage and what it has done for the culture and understanding who the guys are that have built the foundation of pro wrestling that now you're making a boatload of money off of, it's shameful that you don't know who those men are. And yes, I'm saying men because it has been primarily men that built professional wrestling. It's just a fact. It just is. The women have been in wrestling for decades, but let's be honest, it's just a fact. I don't care if it's an inconvenient one. It just is that the men are primarily responsible for it. That's why I'm saying men. Now, women have a contributing factor, but again, the men have, it's been a primarily man sport that's generated a lot of money. Now, my point to all this, and I'll wrap it up and get back to Raw, that if you're Nick Khan at this level and you don't have the level of self-awareness to know that you don't know the product as well as you should, or maybe no one's got the balls to tell you that you don't, that's shameful. Somebody needs to say, hey, Nick, and nobody will. Nick, you may want to just, I don't know, YouTube some things at the very least. Know who the guys are that you're working with in the company. Have a little bit of respect and knowledge for the lineage and history and legacy of professional wrestling. I understand now that that's not pro wrestling anymore. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it still is. It's not presented the same way, but that doesn't mean it's not the same thing at its core. And what makes it successful will not change. What makes it successful is stars. Forever and always. Stars. They draw the money. They draw the ratings. They're responsible for the success of the company. ultimately. Stars are the lifeblood. Fans will follow the stars. And again, it's all domino effect. I'm not saying they're the only factor, but they are the trigger. So Nick Khan continues to show his ignorance at a willfully just shocking rate here. Just every time he opens his mouth, I mean, he looks like a car salesman. He looks like the manager or the financial manager of a car dealership. That's what he looks like to me. You see this guy, he's always in the black suit and the button down. He looks like a used car dealership, or like if you're dating a girl and you see her dad, he looks like the asshole dad that you don't want to see when you're dating a girl. Anyway, okay, I'm moving on. That's all you do is complain. Yeah, well, I'm responding to Nick Khan because he deserves a little bit of a kickback there for not understanding his own fucking product. All right. We then have the first match. Again, some hype for some stuff, but I'm moving on. Penta, Obafemi, Solo Sikoa, Carmelo Hayes, a 4-way King of the Ring tournament match. Yes, a 4-way to open the King of the Ring tournament. Good grief. Fine. They're throwing pretty much everybody in this tournament instead of doing singles matches at the start here. But we have this match go. I'm looking at the timestamp. 9 minutes. Yeah. Oh, wow. It was 9 minutes. It did feel short. And Obafemi gets the victory, as he should have. Does anybody on this earth believe that Obafemi wasn't going to win that match? No. Obafemi needed a bounce back victory, and he needed it really as soon as Raw came on the air. He was the first match, and he delivered in a big way, and he ends up getting the victory and dominates. And he said, recall Brock Lesnar asking if he could take an ass kicking and what he would do after taking 7 F5s. I'm standing, I'm winning, I took your best shot, and I'm still here. He added that he will be king of the ring and said it's 1-1 between him and Lesnar, and then said he would see Lesnar, quote, down the line. So that tells you, again, if you're reading between the lines and if you're familiar with WWE booking, probably it could be Saturday night's main event. They could push it out to July. It's only another 5-6 weeks until that. They could stretch it that long. And then Lesnar faces Gunther to end his career in Minneapolis at SummerSlam. That's how I see it wrapping up. So I think Lesnar has seen his final victory because he's going to lose to Obafemi in the third match, and he's probably going to lose to Gunther at SummerSlam. That's how I see it going. I don't think we'll see another Brock Lesnar victory in his entire career. So there's your trivia for Brock Lesnar. Who did he win his last match on or in WWE? The answer, of course, is Obafemi. Okay. The analysis here, by the way, from Pro Wrestling Net, credit to them, says a bounce back win for Oba following his loss to Brock. I can't see Oba taking a clean loss in the King of the Ring tournament, but there's always an outside chance of interference costing him if he's not the winner. His promo was solid, the fans popped big, and has chanted his name repeatedly. So the loss to Lesnar didn't hurt him in the eyes of the crowd. I don't think the crowd is an aberration. It's going to take more than one loss to Lesnar to cool him off. Yeah, and actually, in a way, it should heat them up. It should heat up your fan base. They should be angry. They want to get even more behind you. See, that's the test here. You can only push a guy so far, so fast, and so hard before even those that support him go, it'd kind of be interesting to see what would happen if he lost and how he would react to it. If you're a smart fan, even though if you support somebody that's on a roll, you have to think like that. It adds another dimension, another layer to your character. And that's what we're seeing here. And the fans are still behind him. Now, admittedly, they're in Italy. And if you're in Italy or anywhere overseas, you're going to get a much more enhanced reaction. So I think the real test is going to be back when he's back in the United States. Now, I don't expect the reaction to be really too much different. I think the fans are still going to support him, but I wanted to make the point that Italy's not a great place to take the temperature of where a talent is because they're just excited to just be there for everything and everyone all the time, right? They're always loud just because they're there and they're excited. And that's fine. But that's the nature of the crowd there. That's the culture there. So I don't think it's a good way to really use that as a metric of, oh, well, we're good. You know, the fans are still behind Oba. It's like, well, wait, look where we are, you know? But again, I don't think Oba's in trouble at all. Not at all. All right. We then get a lot of hype here for Rollins and Breakker to main event the show, which is admittedly a very good main event of the show. And we have Sol Ruca. And Kathy Kelly is in the ring. She slapped hands with fans on the way to the ring. Sol Ruca, not Kathy Kelly. You deserve it, chant broke out. Kelly asked Ruca if she thought she'd be standing in the ring as champion after spending less than a month on the Raw roster. Ruca said she believed she could be a champion and thanked the fans for believing that she could be one. And Ruca said Becky Lynch gave her the chance to prove herself against the very best, and she proved her wrong. And it's not just me saying it, it's everyone saying it. That was weird. And of course, here it comes. How many times have I said this? By law, in the penal code of the not even the United States, it's some maybe international law now. It has covered the globe. It's enforceable in all countries in on this earth. That you must, as a babyface champion, when you first win a belt, declare that you'll be a fighting champion, or you will be, I guess, executed on the spot. It is mandated, or you'll be imprisoned. And I say that jokingly, but it feels that way because of how many times we have to hear it. Why do we need to hear that? Why do we need to hear it? Yes. Oh, here it goes again. Well, it's absurd that we keep hearing this. I've torn down the logic a million times too, of why it makes no sense that you would say you're a fighting champion as a babyface. Again, it's all to avoid cowardice and to show that you'll just put up your belt against anybody. But again, for the love of God, why would you want to put your belt on the line against anybody? Because it disrespects the belt. If it's a belt you truly value, you wouldn't defend it against anybody. And if you would, then that tells me that you put your own ego before what the value of the championship is. Let me say that again, because it's really important. And it's overlooked by everybody that hears this. And it's just kind of just a stump speech by anybody who, again, babyface that wins a championship. If you, as a babyface, declare that, you will defend the championship. You'll be a fighting champion. You just put it on the line against any and all comers. That tells me you value your own ego more than the value of that championship. It's very counterintuitive to say that you'll defend it against everybody and anyone that comes your way, because you're serving your own ego to show you're not a coward, but you're not caring or not seeing how that devalues the belt you're actually holding. It's totally lost on creative. They wouldn't understand that. If I told that to Nick Khan, he probably wouldn't even understand what I'm talking about. He wouldn't even, to him, it wouldn't be even English. If I brought that to his attention, he'd look at me and say, well, I'm sorry, can you say that again? I didn't hear any of the key words, Matt. I didn't hear any of the key words of money. Can you say the word money? I mean, right? That's the only word that seems to get his attention. None of this would even be conceptualized by Nick Khan and executives at TKO. But to be fair, it's also been something that has been said by champions since Vince was in charge. So, all right. I got more to say about this. Ruca said, let's see. Oh, yeah. Well, again, she said, it's not just me. Everyone's saying it. What the fuck is she talking about? Who's everyone? She proved her wrong. It's not just me saying it's everyone. That's a lame thing to say. It's lame. Why would you say something and then go, well, I'm saying it, but everyone else is too. What the fuck? No, even in Pro Wrestling Net kind of feels the same way. They said, meh. Ruca's character came off a little too confident to the point that she risks turning off some fans if this approach continues. Meanwhile, I get it. Her finish is the soul snatcher, but the lines about stealing souls of her opponents are too much. That's a good point. Yeah, she talked about stealing the souls. I'm not a fan of the name. It's a cute little name. Again, it has some very risque implications. Those of you that know. But I don't like I don't like the finish to begin with. I know it's a cool looking finish. I talked about this on my review show of Clash in Italy. It's a cool finish, no doubt, but it's high risk of injury, as we've seen, and it also is high risk of a botch. Not even just injuring yourself or your opponent, but we've seen already it's been botched several times, and she's only been on the roster a month. And she's working with one of the most experienced women on the roster in Becky Lynch. And even Becky Lynch sometimes can't figure out how to take it. Not a good sign. Sol Ruca seriously may want to rethink her finish and do it quickly before this Soul Snatcher finish really becomes established. Like, now's the time to kind of reinvent what you want to do as a finish. Hell, go with a submission. I don't know. I mean, this is going to be lost on everybody. It's not going to happen, but can you see how this is already a bit of a problematic finish? Not just from her talking about snatching souls, really. Yeah, I would agree with Pro Wrestling Net here, as I normally do. They've always got a very well thought out analysis. I mean, I'm not being a jerk about that. I'm being serious. They do. Jason Powell, I've never spoken with the guy, but very intelligent. I mean, I don't know him personally, but from what I've heard, and I've followed him for years, very intelligent. That said, I mean, I have to double down on what they said here. I don't want to hear about her selling or snatching souls. You're not the Undertaker. I mean, that's the only time you talk about snatching souls is then. Otherwise, it's just kind of like a tongue-in-cheek. What are you talking about? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would give it a very meh feeling as well. Not good. And her voice, I have to say, again, she's good in the ring. She's young. She's an up-and-coming talent. You want to push new stars. I'm all for it. But her voice is also not very listenable. She does have kind of an annoying, just natural voice. It's just, I don't know what to tell you. That's how I feel about it. Again, at the same time, I can admit, you want some positivity to balance out all this criticism? She's really good in the ring, and I see star written all over her. Yes, she's blonde. Who cares, right? We've seen a million blondes come and go. I think she'll stick around for a while. She's got that star power. She does have a presence on camera and in ring when she's not trying to hit her soul snatch finish that has zero margin for error. She's good, and she showed it on Sunday. It was with Becky Lynch. They put on a really good match. Okay, moving on. Next match here, Ethan Page and Rusev taking on Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. The match went 11 and a half minutes with Rey and Dragon Lee getting the victory after Rey drop-kicked Ethan Page and hit with a 619 and got the victory. And fun, feel-good match. Ethan Page and Rusev, while I think they need the momentum much more than Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee do, had a good match despite the loss. You can get these two back and rolling next week. And Pro Wrestling Net kind of said the same thing here. It was good to see the Italian fans treat Rey like the legend he is. As much as I love Page's work, he's the type of heel who can take a pinfall loss and get right back on his feet the next time his promo hits. And I would agree. Exactly. Yeah. I think Ethan Page, I said this a couple weeks ago, he's a guy he's a sleeper. Ethan Page is a sleeper. And I mean that we could see him at a higher level than you think by the end of the year. I don't mean world champion. I'm not saying main event WrestleMania. I'm not saying he'd be in the Final Four of the Royal Rumble. I'm saying that while he's a kind of a low on the totem pole player right now, I could see that changing kind of under our noses, under the radar over the next several months, where he's not your focal point. He's not the reason you're going to tune in to watch Raw or turn on a PLE. But he's going to continue, I think, to kind of slowly work himself up the chain. And little by little, he's getting more of a presence, building his body of work. And all of a sudden, the next thing you know, he's competing for the Intercontinental Championship or something. I think that could happen for Ethan Page. So I think it's a slow but steady progression for him. And he's a sleeper. That's all I got to say. But good match here. Fun to see Rey Mysterio. Again, anytime you get to see him at this point, I'm sure you're just like me or maybe you're not. Probably most of you hopefully aren't. I'll say that straight out there. I mean, I'm glad there's only one of me, and I don't mean because I feel like I'm so special. I just mean like I have a lot of traits that I'm glad I'm the only one that in this world has, for at least for in my world anyway. That said, I'm looking at Rey Mysterio every time I see him out there, and maybe you are too. Maybe not you are, but maybe you're looking at him and saying, hey, this might be one of the last time I see him. You know, we have to understand how much mileage Rey Mysterio has on his body, and that it's not a lot of time left in the ring for him. I don't know when he's retiring. I'm going to guess sometime in 2027, Rey Mysterio is going to hang up his boots, hang it up while he's still at the top of his game. He's one of the most ageless stars I've ever seen. So enjoy every moment you see Rey Mysterio out there. There'll never be another one like him, and everyone that follows him, every luchador ever that wears a mask, you will have in your mind, and I think even in the wrestlers' minds and fans, you will compare Rey Mysterio to whoever's in front of you. I mean, that's just what we've done. Ultimo Dragon, we've done Dragon Lee, others as well. Every time you see somebody else, Penta, it's just like, it reminds me, because Rey is one of a kind. He is the best to ever do it, in my opinion, and on the luchador side of things. I haven't really been a fan of his character, so to speak, but it doesn't matter because he's just so goddamn good in the ring. He never really had any outstanding promos for me, but his presence, his likability, and his in-ring, I mean, speaks for itself. So enjoy Rey Mysterio while we can. Okay, interesting segment backstage, and I try to stay away from backstage stuff so this show isn't 4 hours, but LA Knight shows up backstage and takes issues with Pierce visiting Reigns' locker room. Knight said it seemed like the only person Pierce wanted as champion was Reigns. Pierce said Fatu was a liability, and he wasn't trying to put the bloodline back together, and Knight grabbed Pierce's hand and held it up while Pierce had his index finger raised. LA Knight continues to talk about the bloodline. I mean, I could do without this. He's still getting a good pop. LA Knight's still getting a good pop from the crowd. But I could do without LA Knight continuing to talk about the bloodline. He needs to move on, just like all of us need to move on. I think the bloodline just needs to dissolve. And it did, and it was fine. And then they brought it back, or at least Solo's group morphed from Bloodline 2.0 to the MFT. So that was still kind of a spin-off of the bloodline. So it kept the story alive. And then you had a reuniting of the bloodline at the Survivor Series. And then there was, I think one other time they reunited briefly, and then they went away, and now they're back again. So the bloodline story has never really completely left us. There's always been around in some form or fashion, and it's time to move on. We need to move on. I know I opened the show with this, but I want to just say definitively, the bloodline, spin-offs, and the OG bloodline, dissolve it. Move on. It's not even considered playing it safe anymore. It's considered playing it lazy and ill-informed. So, Queen of the Ring, Fatal 4-Way, Roxanne Perez, Io Sky, Julia, and Lash Legend. This went 10 minutes and 40 seconds with Io Sky winning after hitting over the moonsault. And she got the victory on Julia. So Io Sky advances, as Obafemi did, in the male counterpart of the Fatal 4-Way. So Io Sky advances, and the brackets are updated to show that Sky will face the winner of Sol Ruca versus Lyra Valkyria versus Charlotte Flair versus Jade Cargill in a 4-way match in the next round of the tournament. So Io Sky, right person to win. And you look at this and you wonder, well, who could Io Sky face in the next round? Some interesting and intriguing matchups here. Sol Ruca, no, she's not gonna. She's already Intercontinental Champion. She's not gonna win the match. Lyra Valkyria, I don't think WWE is too high on her right now. To me, it's Charlotte or Jade. There's just no two ways about it. I also don't like the fact that Charlotte and Jade are in the same match. these two should be separated as long as possible. If you're trying to build to a eventual big matchup with these two, you got to separate them even further. Don't even let them physically touch each other, because you're going to be, I think, pouring cold water on something the fans, I think, are going to eventually get really behind. But who do I think that she's going to face next week? I mean, either Io is going to face Charlotte or she's going to face Jade. Either way, very intriguing. All right, we get some Danhausen stuff. Yeah. But anyway, Seth Rollins is shown warming up. And then we have a matchup here with the main event. Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker. Really good. Match went 22 minutes. It's long. It's a long main event. But it was good. The transition from the spear to the pedigree on the table was flawless. Very well done. I could have done without the second kick out, or rather the kick out. I don't know if he kicked out twice, but there were two pedigrees delivered and Braun Breaker kicked out of them. Just stack that on top of the pile of kickouts of finishers that just happen on a nightly basis at this point. It's not even fun to watch finishers anymore. It's taken the excitement out of it. It's taken the total excitement out of, oh my God, the match could be over. Oh my God. You just look at it. You're just like, nah, I don't buy it. And you're right. 100% of the time now. You look at it after somebody hits a finish and you say to yourself, well, was that the first time they hit it? Oh, it was? Okay. Well, we got to see at least another one, at least probably two more. How often do we see that? We need to be re-educated. WWE needs to go on a finisher realignment campaign. Go back. You can put the genie back in the bottle here, because all you have to do is re-educate fans. Hey, one finish? Wait, one finish? You didn't kick out? No. You know why? Because that's why it's called a finish. And it also makes you pay attention to finishers more often now. And I think it's the way you should go about it. I would not have kickouts of finishes or have talent rely on top of multiple finishes being hit on an opponent for a reaction from the crowd. You can build to the finish of the match without having the false finishes of the match be the finishers. Does that make sense? Probably not, but maybe I'll just kind of end it there. My rant about finishers being kicked out is going to continue, damn it, until somebody does something. To me, it's also a lazy way of getting a reaction from fans. That it's just like a drug, though. It requires more and more finishers to create a reaction. Whereas a kick out back in the day, and I don't mean that long ago, 10, 20 years ago, kicking out of a finisher, it was not super rare, but it was rare enough that when someone did it, you paid attention. Like, whoa, really? Wow, it takes more than one? Well, that's impressive. And then 2 came along, and then 3. Now we're up to 4. Last Sunday, what was it? 7 with Brock Lesnar. 7. Again, it's just like a drug that when you build up a tolerance to it, it takes more and more to have to get to that feeling that you want. Same with finishers. Weird analogy, but it works, right? Kind of a clumsy analogy, but fits what I'm trying to tell you. So, short of it is, go back to finishers being fucking finishers. All right. By the way, this podcast is not safe for work. At this point, you will probably already know that, or your boss has said, what are you listening to? Turn that shit down. All right. Oh, my goodness. Well, that will do it for me on this Raw review. I hope you've enjoyed it. Yes, there's a lot of critiques, a lot of criticism on the show, but I'm not a show that's going to just praise wrestling because I love wrestling. You wouldn't know it by this show, but if I didn't love it and know what it can be, or if I feel it's being disrespected, not that I'm the guardian of the professional wrestling, vault of respect. That's not me. But as a longtime fan, I know what wrestling can be. And I can sense when people who are running it don't have any respect for the knowledge, history, or legacy of the business. Look no further than them just plastering ads over anything and everything to make a quick buck. And then saying, a guy named Shawn Michaels. Get the fuck out of here, Nick. My God. Go back to selling your used cars. Okay, I'll end it there. If you guys want to go ad-free, and I'm sure you do, after listening to this, you're like, God damn it, let me run over to Patreon. I need to support this guy. This guy is he's a ray of sunshine. Well, you can do that by heading to patreon.com/WWE podcast. Thanks, everybody. I'll be back in a couple of days. I'll also be posting a video shortly for those on Patreon. And take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.